Welcome to Bristol Bay Native Corporation's podcast series, Mug Up with BBNC. Mug Up is a term commonly used in the Bristol Bay region, specifically in the fishing community. It refers to getting together with friends and family for a casual gathering over a warm cup of coffee or tea. It's all about sharing stories, experiences, and connecting with one another. In this podcast, hosted by BBNC's communications team, you'll hear from BBNC employees, community leaders, and passionate individuals who are engaged in BBNC's mission of enriching our Native way of life. Thank you so much for joining us. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our next episode of Mug Up with BBNC. You have Kayla Wilson here and Carmel Ingebretson from the communications department. We are so excited today because we have Aleesha Towns-Bain here and Angela Peacock from the Bristol Bay Foundation. Welcome, ladies.
Woo, woo. We're so excited.
Thanks for having us.
We're so happy to have you. We're excited to get into it, but first, can you guys do a little introduction of yourselves?
Oh, yes, absolutely. This is so exciting. Thanks again for having us. My name's Aleesha Towns-Bain, Chimai Waka Yaklidu, and I'm the executive director of the Bristol Bay Foundation. And I'm also a scholarship recipient from the foundation from years back. So I always like to mention that when we introduce ourselves. I'm a BBNC shareholder. My family on my mom's side is from Pilot Point.
Nice. How long have you been with BBF?
6.5 years now, so.
Man, time's flown.
Time flies.
Right?
I'm Angela Peacock. I serve as the Deputy Director for the Bristol Bay Foundation. I've been with the foundation, I'm going into my 10th year.
Dang.
And so,
a decade of service.
Nearly a decade, yes. My family is originally from Manicottic and Togiak. I'm lucky enough that I've gotten to live in the region. My dad was a teacher, so we traveled among the Southwest Region School area. And I got to live in Aluknigik, Twin Hills, and Togiak, all through my childhood.
Dang, that's so cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I remember when I was getting scholarships from the Ed Foundation, now Bristol Bay Foundation, but you were here.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we're so proud, Kayla.
So proud. And Carmel's a scholarship recipient as well. Yeah.
A long time ago.
Yeah. And you might also know Angela as Auntie Angela.
Yes.
Although you guys haven't done videos in a little bit because maybe of COVID, but.
Yeah, and things are changing. We've hired new staff members, so look out for something new.
Some new aunties?
Some new aunties coming out.
I can't wait.
But
So
also,
exciting.
those are in the archive. You can always go back and rewatch
That's
them
true.
on our YouTube channel, just in
Yeah.
case.
They're still there.
They're still there.
Well, can you guys tell us a little bit about the Bristol Bay Foundation, how it came to be, and why it's so important?
It goes into the history of how BBNC and Bristol Bay Foundation have been connected since the very beginning. So a lot of folks know that we were, just until recently, called the Bristol Bay Native Corporation Education Foundation. It was quite a mouthful, but we still had a lot of pride in that name. And it was because we are so connected to BBNC, I think, and its mission. So these missions really, really go hand in hand. BBNC has provided scholarship support to students, I think, almost since the very beginning. If you go back in old BBNC board meeting minutes, there's evidence that they were making scholarships to students at their board table. But then in 1992, they decided to formalize a private foundation in which to administer scholarships. And I think that was because our leadership at BBNC and within the region really recognized the importance of educating our next generation to take on leadership roles, both at the corporation, but also just within our region. And we knew that one of the tools to do that was access to Western higher education, as well as career and vocational training as well. So that goes back a really long time. So since 1992, we have been in existence. And I think since then, we've just really, really grown and expanded. So just recently, we made the big change, I think in May. It's already been almost 10 months.
Yep.
Wow.
To rename our organization the Bristol Bay Foundation, And we're so excited about that because I think it really speaks to this expansion of who we are. And we're really trying to articulate that now. So we're always going to be provide scholarship supports to students, but we've expanded to include a lot more cultural work that we're excited to talk a little bit more about later.
Awesome. And I know you guys redid your logo. I love your guys' logo. Can you kind of talk about it? Because there's a meaning behind it.
There is.
We worked with a organization to help us expand who we serve, right? And kind of our story. It started out with our story and what we're doing. And she came up with an array of different logos that, we go, let's stay away from the fish. We're more than, we wanted a different look than BBNC because, we're a different organization. And sometimes people, they still do confuse BBNC and the Bristol Bay Foundation. And so we came up with a logo around the Nanak lamp. And it just served us so well picking this one. It showed lighting our future.
I love that.
Can you talk about the lamp and what that is?
Yeah, so a lot of folks will have seen those stone oil lamps. I know, my mom told this story of when she was at home one time, I think in Pilot Point, just walking down the beach, and people would find these stone lamps on the beach, and you can kind of tell what they are because there was this, you can tell a man-made indentation on the top of them. So our ancestors and families used these to light their homes like they were, and for ceremony and different practices. But a lot of people have them in their houses. Do you guys have one?
No.
Oh.
I think we should go to culture camp and make one.
Exactly. So they would use that indentation, you put oil in it, and then there's a wick that can be lit. So it's kind of like a candle or a lamp that you would use in your house.
And those were used across all of our cultures, is what we found out. So that's something beautiful and unique.
That is so cool. So lighting the future is kind of what
we really started to read in deep to this. We're all the ways that education is a light, our cultures are a light, and that in some ways the foundation could be the holder of this light going forward.
Oh, I
love that.
I'm a total marketing communications nerd, so I'm tell me about the logo. Okay, cool. So let's move on to scholarships, because scholarships is a huge part of the Bristol Bay Foundation. What kinds of scholarships do you guys offer, and who is eligible?
Sure. So eligibility is really important across the board. Every scholarship you apply for has eligibility criteria. Our eligibility is you have to be either a BBNC shareholder or a direct lineal descendant. So now, if you don't know, we offer scholarships to our descendants.
Yay.
Hooray! It's a big change this year.
Yeah, and so how you apply as a descendant is you register with BBNC, and then you're offered an opportunity to move through the portal to apply for scholarships. So it's that simple.
mybbnc.net, right?
That is correct.
Cool. Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
About the scholarships, because both of you received scholarships.
Yeah.
What did that mean for you as recipients?
I didn't really know a lot about the corporation, and so that came kind of later on in my scholarship recipient journey. But it really did, once I did an internship with the corporation and really got to know what BBNC was and the foundation, it became a lot more meaningful for me, and not just money that you guys were sending to my college to help me pay my bills, but it took stress off of worrying about building up these huge student loans or worrying about paying for books. And so it was just really helpful for me in my journey, as well as my brothers, too, that were receiving scholarship recipients, too. So it had a big impact on my family. And I know that, I went to college 20 years ago. So from what I've seen in the growth of what you guys have been able to do and how much you're able to give students now is so meaningful and impactful.
Yeah, I would say for me too, the biggest part was like financially. I was raised by a single mom, and so we didn't have a lot of money growing up, and so that was really helpful. And now my sister is getting her master's in occupational therapy and is also a scholarship recipient.
Oh, we know.
I know. So it's so exciting to see, like, it's so helpful financially, especially if you don't come from money and you can't pay for, a college.
Mm-hmm. I think what both of you shared, I think, is what we hear a lot about from our current recipients and student body, is that sometimes this is the first connection that they've had to the corporation
That's true.
and the foundation, right? And so that's really important, right? That we as a region are investing in our students and they feel that. So even though it's been 20 years, Carmel, since you got your scholarship, of course you remember that. That's not, being invested in is not something that we ever forget. And I absolutely remember I was an adult learner. I had gone back to for my master's degree when I applied to the foundation for a scholarship. And for me, I felt recognized. I felt valued by our people and by the leadership here. And that's something that I just totally have carried with me, right? And it also, I think, lends to this idea of giving back, right? Because the region invested in me, I have always wanted to give back, invest back. What do you think, Ange?
Oh, yeah. In a lot of the essays that we read, you hear so much gratefulness and thankfulness from our students around the gift of investment in their education journey. And for me, I wasn't ready for college, but I remember getting that money and having I felt like this huge responsibility in doing well, that I had to do well because somebody gave me money to do that.
Totally.
And I walked in and I submitted my paper application in hand to...
Is it Joanne?
Luann?
I think it was Joanne that received it, and then Luann was in the background saying...
Joanne Long, administrative person here at the foundation, and Luann, a former executive director. So a lot of people will tell us Luann's stories.
Oh, yeah.
So, I remember just feeling, I better do good because somebody gave me money. And that was my first time ever getting a scholarship or even knowing I qualified for one.
I love, too, that the foundation staff is so invested in these students, too. And you guys know who they are and what they're doing. And even back 20 years ago, Luann knew what I was doing. And when I got to send her my college invitation with my senior picture, she was so proud. And the foundation was so proud. And that was meaningful to me, too.
100% that we care about each and every... If you're a student out there, 100% we care about you.
Yeah. That's so true, because I've heard Angela say, I got to text this one that their GPA is going down. I got to text them to raise it back up or whatever. You better get your scholarship in before the deadline. So that's super meaningful that you guys create like those so close of connections with your students.
Invested beyond the money, which is...
So we recognize more around the pandemic timeframe that our students needed more than just a scholarship check. And so we wanted to create this new tool in not only our toolbox but theirs around student support. And so one of the things that we learned was, if somebody dies in somebody's community, not everybody can afford to go to their funeral, but it really is important for our people to go say goodbye to their grandpa or their grandma. So one of the things that we did was we created this emergency aid, ikayong, which means, it's a phrase in Alutiiq that means I need help, and it's a phrase in Yupik that means help me. And so we came up with that name and this application for students to apply for any support that they may need when emergencies that are out of their control come up while they're in school. And we're in our third year, I believe, of implementation of that program. And one of the things we recognized this year was that we had really a low-priced fishing commercial season in our region. And a lot of students, suffered, especially if you commercial fished financially. Some of them barely got paid.
And they rely on that fishing money for tuition. It was a real crisis.
Yeah.
I mean, for a lot of reasons, but including for students.
Yep. And it hurt families who couldn't help support their students who naturally would invest in them also to go to school. And so we, shared with them, hey, this is an opportunity for you. And we assisted probably close to 20 students this year in Ikayohunga that needed just that additional support.
And so it's cash, just to be clear about that. So we're providing some cash support for students, but often in the form of an additional gift card. This isn't to supplement their existing scholarship, which they've already received to pay their tuition books. So this is kind of on top of that. And what we found is a lot of students are using this additional money for basic human needs, so food security, as well as utilities, paying for their rent. What else?
One of the big things is always internet. Dependent on where you are in your communities, especially when online learning is so available now to our students, internet coverage is just huge. It's a huge cost too, especially our rural area students.
Yeah. And I think the thing that we really want to underline for all of our students, whether they're graduate students or pursuing vocational, is that our number one priority is not only that you get in the door at school and you're able to pay that first tuition bill, but you are completing, right? We want you to have that diploma, that certificate that's going to, allow you to take the next step in your career or what you want to do.
I just thought of is we had Montana Murphy on the podcast a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
And she was saying, she was talking about the program and how I think she spilled like a cup of hot tea or something on her laptop. Yeah. And so she applied and was able to, I don't know if it was fix her laptop or help her get a new one. And then another example I thought of is my sister goes to school, as I mentioned, in Pennsylvania. And something had happened to her car. I don't know if her battery died or something. But she ended up applying for that scholarship or that program too, and was able, because that's how she gets to school is her car. So being able to fix her car and keep going to school, it's just such a cool program that you guys have. Yeah, that wasn't available, when Carmel and I were going to school, and it's so cool that you guys have grown and. Yeah.
And we really want to thank our board for continuing to invest in that program. It's, I think, we piloted it during COVID because we saw a lot of need during COVID, and then because of that, we just have carried that program forward and really institutionalized it. So thanks, board, for continuing to support that.
Yeah. So as a result of working with students closely during emergencies, we recognized that many Bristol Bay Foundation students were having a lot of other issues around mental health. And so we worked with an organization called the Virtual Health Group to kind of create that partnership early on, applied for funding through the Alaska Mental Health Trust, got it, and decided to run with an opportunity, another tool for our students around supporting them with mental health. So now our students, if you're a current recipient, you have access to free mental health support, 24 hours a day, wherever needed. You can call, sign up, and be connected to support with a counselor, emergency services, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's so important.
It's so critical, and we really want to normalize this conversation around mental health supports and making it something that we can talk about openly, which is why I share my story. We found this company, Virtual Care Group, because they provided this resource at my college where I'm currently attending. And so I signed up for it because, man, it's hard. It's hard being a parent. It's hard going to school full time. And I just experienced a loss and I needed some help in that moment. So I signed up for Virtual Care Group. They connected me with a crisis counselor initially, and I had a phone consult with them. And then if you want to continue, they provide you with just regular telehealth appointments where you can make an appointment and schedule like a regular session for an hour. And I showed up for my first online appointment, and they always pair the student with a counselor that's licensed and accredited in the state where they're residing. So for me, that's in Alaska. And so the counselor was here in our state. And then I noticed, like, in her window on Zoom that I was like, your weather looks a lot like mine. Are you in Anchorage? And she said yes. And then as it turns out, her office was across the street from ours here at the BBNC building. She was like, you could come over for an in-person if you want. I think it was an important moment for me. And like, I just did a few sessions, but I really want to articulate to parents and grandparents and aunts and students themselves that if you need that support, then this is an opportunity for you. And you may already have, access to that through, Native Health System or your college. All those are good resources. But like Angela said, this is just another opportunity for our students in the event that you don't have ready access kind of built in. So we just encourage students right now to sign up, because also we recognize that it's when you're in crisis, maybe that's not the time that you want to do a lot of paperwork or go find the form. And so signing up early before you need it.
How do folks sign up?
Yeah, you can go to our website, and there's a link there for students to sign up for virtual care group. And then we've really tried to push this out. But, it'll always be there. So even if folks need it in a couple months, then that's still there.
Yeah, be on the lookout for an email from us. All shareholders should be receiving it here soon. Those that are not on the email list, look for a postcard with directions on how to access that service for your student.
Yeah, and right now, this is just available to current scholarship recipients. So it's not a community-wide resource. We wish it could be, but it's for our existing student body.
Yeah,
cool. That's awesome. And thanks for sharing your story, Aleesha. I think that's very meaningful and important for folks to hear, that anything you're going through, somebody relates to it, and there's resources to help. So
absolutely, because we all need that help. Absolutely, everyone. No matter who you are. What are we going to talk about next, gang?
Well, let's go into the career-focused vocational education scholarship.
We love that.
So first, let me just go back to, we do have our traditional higher education scholarship that's available to students, whether you're going for your associates and all the way through to your PhD. We will support you. We support you at full-time, part-time, and new this upcoming academic year, even if you want to take one class, because we recognize that we have working mothers, working fathers, working households that still have an academic journey that they're pursuing, whether it's one class at a time or 12. We now will support you if you're just taking one course towards your degree.
Isn't there a deadline coming up?
For our higher education and first quarter career-focused vocational education CFVE scholarship, which I'll speak to here in a second, that deadline is April 5th, 2024.
You heard it here.
Cool. So talk about the career-focused vocational education program then. What is that?
So the career-focused vocational education program, we short-term it as CFVE.
Lovingly known as CFVE.
Yes.
Around the foundation.
Yep. This program supports in-depth training for career-focused and long-term employment goals. And we created this program because we recognized at the foundation that the trades industry is just as important as higher education. So we support students pursuing professional piloting. So if you've gotten your privates, come see us if you want a career as a pilot, and we'll try to connect you where we can with that funding. We'll also support cosmetology licensing and any of the industry trades. And the range for this funding is $5,000 to $15,000.
Wow.
So
yes, it's a significant investment. It is right now a one-time scholarship, right?
yes,
It is
It
a
is
one-time scholarship.
It is a one-time scholarship. So dependent on the length of your program and the tuition costs, we generally require the training to be in the range of 4 to 36 months. And so, because there's other opportunities that BBNC does in their shareholder development program that supports the kind of shorter term opportunities, but this is, for ours, it's in that certain time frame, and that's why.
That's awesome. And how long has that program been running?
Geez, I think we're in our fourth coming up on our 4th year.
At least, right?
Yeah,
4 or 5 years.
yeah.
So pretty new. And there's deadlines every quarter?
There is.
3 or 4 times a year?
Yep. There's 3 deadlines a year, and it's usually a fall, winter, and a spring term. So the first quarter is the spring term that's coming up on April 5th.
Okay, cool. So kind of ongoing deadlines, which is nice. Yeah. Do you have any advice or tips for students on how to create a strong scholarship application?
We think that sharing your story is super important in your essay. Not only do we as staff take the time to read them, but we have a scholarship committee, a volunteer scholarship committee that reads these essays. And it's really an opportunity to get to know the students. So we do read them, FYI.
Well, even we had an intern a couple summers ago that Angela actually recommended based on her essay and her interest in her application. So
Yeah.
Absolutely. We do try to do some matchmaking out of the scholarship essays with folks who might be interested in finance or, just and can make those connections to both BBNC and our external partners as well.
It's another way of planting our seed on how we can better support any student.
In terms of those essays, though,
Yeah.
spend some time.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing is that not rushing it, giving yourself a couple of weeks, just like you would with a paper at school, writing an outline, making sure that you've articulated, who you are and, what you'd like to say and what your aspirations are. But I want to say something that maybe is, I don't know if it's controversial, but I'm going to say it. So I think in other scholarship applications or kind of the old way of doing it was that you would have to kind of share your trauma as part of your scholarship application, and that in a way to justify the money. And I want folks to know that that's not the case here with our scholarship. Really, we ask for an essay because we want to know you. We want to know what your goals are. But you can keep that at the professional, educational level, and our committee will respond to that, right? And it doesn't have to be about the nitty gritty in your life, unless that's part of you and you want to share it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but I don't want people to feel obligated to do so. Does that make sense? Am I making sense here?
Yes, you are.
Another piece of advice I'd say is have a couple other people read your essay.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, we have an open door policy, and technology has allowed us to talk to our students in many ways. So if you have any questions about your application, the process, we're even happy to set up a virtual call with you to go over whatever is needed and open that application with you and ride along and hold your hand if needed. So that's an option for any student that is applying.
I will say, too, though, that when we're reading essays, it's not just about your grammar either, right? We really care about the content and what it is that you're telling us, as opposed to worrying about the sentence structure or anything like that. So I think that's important for people to know too. I mean, of course, we appreciate a clearly written essay that someone else has read, but we care more about what you're trying to say. And we even score the applications with just that in mind. The content is more important than
It is.
Structure.
Thanks for bringing that up, Aleesha.
So kind of switching gears a little bit, unless you guys had anything else you want to talk about with the educational programs.
I think the only thing that we would really invite our community to help us with is just around the descendants. Because direct lineal descendants just became eligible last year. So 2023 was our first year that was the case. And so spread the word, because I don't think that folks, it takes a few years for that message to get out into the community, and that is the case now. And I think we're still seeing people gift shares to their children and grandchildren in order for them to be eligible for scholarships. We still promote gifting because I think it's a good idea for, shares to be shared. Yeah. But the idea of, but the requirement of that in order to be scholarship ready is no longer there. So
Yeah. Direct lineal descendants.
So what does that
qualify.
mean?
So it has to show that it comes from a lineage of your original shareholder down to the parent who may have been gifted shares and so on and so forth to you.
Right.
Okay.
So your parent, grandparent, great-grandparent was a
Original.
original BBNC shareholder.
Okay.
And if you're not sure if you're a shareholder or a descendant, because sometimes it gets confusing, you're always welcome to contact our office and just ask. We can look you up in our shareholder system in 5 seconds and just let you know what you are.
So, in what ways does the foundation contribute to the preservation and celebration of the cultural heritage in Bristol Bay?
Oh man, this is like our favorite topic right now. And if we had 3 microphones in here, Kay Larson-Blair, who is our Cultural Heritage Program Director, would be in here too. And maybe she's a future guest on Mug Up.
Totally.
I'm just going to put that plug in here. Mm-hmm. This, I think, for the foundation has really become a huge area of work that we started 5 or 6 years ago. I really want to give a shout out to Greta Goto, who is currently on the BBNC board. It was part of her vision, as well as Jerry Leboff, a long time BBNC Education Foundation board member who just carried this idea that the foundation could invest in cultural heritage from the very beginning and made it happen. And where we started was we provided these small cultural heritage grants, which we now call PNIC grants, PNIC strength in UPIC. We actually don't have a dollar limit on them, but under $8,000, we can administer them more at the staff level. And in those, we partner with the tribes, schools, community nonprofit groups to support cultural heritage activities like in their communities. Whatever
Do you have an
those
example
might be.
of one?
Oh my gosh, we've got so many now that we've been doing this program for a number of years. I'll tell you a couple of my super favorites.
Okay.
There was a school that got together. I want to say it was Southwest Region School District, but maybe you'll remember, Angela. And they did a dog sled build.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That is super cool.
It was so cool. Actually, and not the mini ones, like full size.
Wow.
They did a dog sled, so that was really cool. And then we've had a lot of dance groups, funded dance groups to get regalia. Often we're working now with the school districts for they call them their e-weeks. So it's kind of the exploratory weeks where they want to bring in an additional instructor to provide some cultural programming during e-weeks. So that we see a lot of those applications. And then we've paired that. So there's 2 programs. There's PNIC, and then there's the place names grants, which is really in partnership with the BBNC Land Department and their place names work. But if a community is interested in documenting the place names around their communities, they can apply for a grant to support that work. And my favorite of the place names work has been the Lake region did a project with an anthropologist who was from UAF. Her name is escaping me at this moment, but it will come back to me. But they were documenting with their elders place names around the lakes, and then they took all that information and they had them printed on scarves.
Oh.
Yeah, so then if you were going to go berry picking, you could have that with you. It was just
that's so cool.
Yeah, Yoko Kugo. There's her name. I knew it would come back to me.
I knew it started with a Y.
Yeah, we just saw her at AFN. So that was a very cool project on the place name side of the house. So we have 2 programs where people can apply for funding from Bristol Bay Foundation, and we'll support those activities.
Maybe what I'll add is the place names just celebrated 20 years. They had their 20th year anniversary.
I know. 20 years of place names. And we can't talk about that without mentioning Fran Damaski-Mathlu, who's really, that's her passion project, and she's really carried that work forward. And this was just like supplemental funding, like for all the great work that Fran is doing on that side of the house. So that was kind of our beginning. And then a few years ago, Bristol Bay Foundation's board adopted a new strategic plan. And we're giving a lot of credit, but I now have to give out credit to Annie Fritzie, who was serving on the Bristol Bay Foundation board at the time. And we were talking about like kind of the work, and she observed, and she actually had a picture that she drew that there was a pillar that was our education portfolio, and it's like kind of tall because we've done so much work. And then there was like this little tiny like amount of money that we were dedicating to cultural heritage. She's like, and her vision was that these two would be the same, right? Because both of these things are needed in order to be a whole human being, you know, from our communities and from our region. And I think we really, really have bought into that, that idea that we have to invest in our culture because this is just integral to who we are. So then Kay did some awesome outreach during the pandemic to our communities to say, okay, if we're going to focus around culture, what should that look like and where should we start? Because culture can mean so many things to so many people. There's so many aspects to it. There's subsistence. There's dance. There's actually like all the artifacts that we think about that are out there in our communities and tapes and, you know, archiving. It's just kind of the list goes on and on. So we did this kind of outreach to the community. We called it the Cultural Wellness Check, which was intended because it was like a point in time, right? Like a point in time.
Like a temperature.
Like a temperature. How are things going? Like where are our strengths and where do we need additional resource? And what we heard was language, right?
Across the board.
Like over and over and over, our Indigenous languages in Bristol Bay are critical to who we are as people, and we need investment. And we need investment from the foundation, from the corporation, just from whatever resource that we could identify. So the foundation in the last few years has really put this as our focus, is around how we can support language work moving into the future. Now, I'll say it with a caveat because we've never done this before, right? We've been an education foundation, so this language work is really brand new to us. But we recognize that there was already amazing initiatives that were happening in Bristol Bay, which, you know, needed more support or we could learn from in a lot of cases and instances. So Alexandra Salmon in Igiagig doing amazing work. Esther Lutzik in the Southwest Region School District, who is now retired, but she, you know, of course, ran the UPIC program for the school district. So a lot of really great work was already happening that we learned from, and now we're kind of moving that into the future. So we do have an event that we wanted to plug that Kay's working on, which is the Bristol Bay Indigenous Language Summit. Is going to come up May 7th and 8th. So mark your calendars to be there. You guys could do a live mug up from there.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Like
May 7th and 8th.
May 7th and 8th. You guys should come because I think it'll be it'll be our second summit. The first one was so meaningful. Like you went to that first summit. Tell us a little bit about your experience, Ange.
When I walked into that room and I saw as all the elders from 3 of our cultures there speaking their language, it was so powerful. The breakout groups that we had and the work that they were doing just flowed. Everybody enjoyed their time there, and it was just an amazing wow experience seeing, you know, like a dream come true almost. I can't explain it.
Yeah.
As I say, it's so cool. It really reminds me of Marie Paul, who was our former board chair, who passed, as you all know, last year. But she was at the summit, and she would always say, "So cool."
Thank you.
It was so cool.
And I'm so proud of you girls. Like she would always just, you know.
She was always so proud.
Oh, yeah.
How many people were attended last year? Do you guys remember?
I think we had over 50
I
that
think
we supported coming in. And
it was
then-
in 2022, so we were just at the tail end of COVID, so we chose to limit based on having elders present. You remember when we had COVID?
Yeah.
There was all those things that we had to do. We were still, I think, testing, prior to that event.
Yeah.
But I think Angela, to your story around hearing the language, to me that was what was so phenomenal, about it and about the first summit. It was hearing our languages being spoken freely by our participants. And that came, and to me, it like reminded me of, and I told my mom this story, it was like being a little kid again, like because when I was growing up in Seattle, like the times that I heard like our languages being spoken was when we would go to the shareholder informational meeting in Seattle. And so I remember very vividly like being under the table at info meeting and hearing long speeches in Yupik. But like that like all those words being spoken, and I was like, it was like that, like where there was just like people were giving like talks in our language, and it was really cool. We also thought we had an agenda as like some planners, but we knew that was going to be given over to the elders, and that absolutely happened as well.
One of the cool things I noticed too was hearing people speak Dina.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I'm part of the Yupik culture, and a lot of the Yupik and Alutiiq words are kind of similar in the same meaning, but to hear Dina was like, oh, this is part of us too. This is so awesome.
Yeah, the power of having our three languages be together was really amazing. So there's a save the date that's on our Facebook page, and more information will be coming out about how to attend. And we hope folks will come and be part of the planning and visioning for our Bristol Bay languages moving into the next decade.
Going back to the PNIC program, is your sister Jessica involved in that at all with the Alutiiq, like cultural camps that she does?
Oh yeah.
And I only asked because my cousin Dion, she had her kids go. They live in Washington, and I just wanted to bring it up because if you don't live in Alaska, and like especially like the rural areas, sometimes you don't have that connection to your culture. And so she had texted me and was like, my kids went to the Aleesha culture camp, and I don't know if it was in Seattle or somewhere around that area, but they did like the coolest things. I think they made jewelry, and do you want to talk about that at all?
Do we want to talk about culture camp? Like we always want to talk about culture camp, like 24/7.
Yeah, I assumed it was connected to the PNIC.
Yes, well, okay. I think there's a few strands of culture camp, and I think one of the cool things that we're just observing, both in our region and statewide, is this cultural renaissance that's happening. It's so exciting where culture camp is happening in a lot of different places. And I'm very grateful to say that we're not in charge of all of them. So no, we are not in charge of the Pacific Northwest Alutiiq culture camp.
Okay.
They have, I think, applied for and received funding from the foundation as well as BBNC.
Okay.
You're right. My sister, Aleesha Towns-Bain, is one of the co-founders along with Heather Matrokin Cannon. So shout outs continue. And they hold that every year in Olympia, Washington. It's a fantastic camp. So folks should definitely check out, especially if you're interested in Alutiiq culture. They also have a bunch of online offerings for folks who, like they do dance classes, etc. So definitely check them out, and they have a website too. And then we also at the foundation co-hosted with our communities 3 floating culture camps last summer. Angela, you went to
I went to the Naknek one. So we held 3 of them in our region, Togiak, Naknek, and Port Haydn. And we couldn't have done it without the partnership of our tribes. So big shout out to our communities out there and our tribes.
Our communities are awesome.
Yeah,
they are. Just so great to work with.
I saw pictures from the Port Haydn one where they actually went out and shot a caribou and they taught the kids like how to
harvest.
Yeah, how to harvest it. That's so cool. You don't really hear about that or
they taught me how to harvest it. I was real grateful.
That is so cool.
Do you guys have more floating camps coming up this year?
We do, and that is in the planning stages.
Okay.
More to come on that, but we do plan to have 2 or 3 floating camps this upcoming summer.
Cool.
Yeah, and those camps were part of a grant that we received from the U.S. Department of Education, and we're committed to doing camps for the next 3 summers that are
nice.
3 years in total.
Okay.
So this summer and next summer we'll have floating camps. And then as part of that, I think this is really cool, we invite incoming or relatively new to Bristol Bay teachers who may not be from our communities to come to Culture Camp with us and experience camp as a way for them to observe how traditional learning and traditional teaching occurred in our communities. So that was super exciting. It's in partnership. That part is in partnership with the Alaska Humanities Forum, who actually runs a program called C3, which is Creating Cultural Competency in Educators. And they bring their staff to Culture Camp too and kind of walk our teachers through this program. Julie Rowland came to the Bristol Bay Leadership Forum and talked a little bit about this program. When was that? In December? Yeah. December.
Early December.
Yeah.
I can share that I had the opportunity to attend the NACNIC camp where we had 5 C3 teachers in attendance. And I think one of my favorite memory of this was my part in that camp was to teach the fish cutting, stripping, smoking, and canning portion of it. And we had amazing elder volunteers there who do things differently than I do. And so it wasn't a bad thing. I reiterate this with them that, there's no rules to how we do things. And they're like, yeah, it's more like family guidelines on how much brine you put in the bucket before you salt your fish. So I thought that was really funny because I was like, oh yeah, lots of people do it in different ways. There's no rules.
Ways, yeah.
So one of the things that I want to mention is that there was this 7-year-old girl who wanted so badly to come with the older kids to come cut fish with us. And so with the permission of her mom who was there, it was amazing to see that knife become part of her hand and how she learned and knew what to do. And, even the teachers that were watching were like, whoa. I was like, yeah, she's a natural. And before we started, I remember telling this group of students and adults that were there, the C3 teachers and other folks that were from the community there, I had said, now remember, before you start, you have to be thankful and be grateful in your heart, or your fish is going to taste bad. Like, we don't start the day being mad cutting fish.
Yeah.
We start it with really goodness and tenderness in our heart before we do that. And we ended up with 15 cases of
I was like,
smoked fish.
Angela, would you like to share how many fish we got for
goodness.
Processing? And this, learning.
Yeah,
we were learning.
We were learning, and it was a lot. And I can share that none of them popped. All of them sealed.
Wow.
Yeah, and we got to share that with, the folks that were at the camp and the students, and we had a little ceremony at the end and gifted them their fish, and it was so beautiful. I'm so grateful that I was part of that opportunity.
Can we have a moment to shine the light on Angela Peacock? Because,
Auntie Ange.
Auntie Ange, she not only has taught now like a camp full of kids around how to process fish, I believe that she's taught at least 2 people sitting here at this table how to cut fish, which is me and Carmel. Do you,
like over and over again.
Right? Like, you want to talk about that, Carmel?
I am not a natural. So it's taken some
You're
work.
getting there.
I'm getting there. I'm getting better.
A couple more
But
summers, maybe.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about this summer and what that's going to look like. But yeah, it's been such a joy to learn and experience that with Angela in Dillingham the past couple of summers. Aleesha and I have got to spend some time subsisting with Angela and her family. So
it's been so good. We're so grateful for that. And I think it really points to, this idea that, we've had the opportunity to be at Culture Camp, this last few summers, but that Culture Camp is good for absolutely everyone who goes. And that's something I'm really thinking about. Like, just how meaningful, like Carmel, for you and me, how meaningful it's been for us in the last couple of summers, because I didn't learn when I was 7, how to cut and process fish, because, like I shared, I was like raised in Seattle, that we just didn't have access to fish, in the same way. But we always knew that was part of our culture, like in our community. And so the opportunity, like more recently, to learn it has been just incredibly powerful. And so now, I just wish this for everyone. I wish this for everyone in our region or who's from our region, who may be listening to this podcast in, I don't know, North Carolina. You know, like, and I also want you to know, like, I'm thinking about you in North Carolina and how we can provide ways to be culturally connected, to find ways to get back to Bristol Bay, because we want you to have that fish knife in your hand and, you know, have that same experience of like feeling at home, you know, like around that fish table. So I don't know, there's a lot of power in Culture Camp, and I think we're just scratching the surface right now of what that can mean, like moving into the future. But I have a vision of like camp for all.
Yeah,
You know?
I was just thinking, all of our past episodes, I think Culture Camp has came up at least once. And every time we're like, Carmel and I are like, man, I wish I had a Culture Camp for like 30, 40-year-olds.
Exactly.
Because, you know, it's a lot of them are for kids. And then I think BBNC did like a young adult Culture Camp.
We
which
need
is
like
cool,
a
but-
millennial.
Like you.
But it just goes to show you like how much we're craving that like cultural knowledge, you know, and to pass that down to our kids so they can pass it down to their kids.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
We all need that connection. For
I
sure.
love talking about culture. It's so fun.
Us too.
We kind of talked about this a little bit and how you guys interact with all of our communities. Is there anything that we're missing or that you guys want to talk about as far as like engaging with the local community?
So I mentioned that we're working with the Alaska Humanities Forum on the C3 program under that Department of Education grant. There's some other very cool aspects of that work that I think just deserve some like airtime and recognition because there are partners out there that are just doing incredible things. Under that grant, we are also working with UAA and the School of Education on a program that's under their Masters of Education. So right now, if you are a teacher in the Bristol Bay region, you could sign up for this program to get your master's degree in 3 years. You have to commit to staying in your school district for 3 years. But half your credits, and I think I look at you two, like recent graduates, half your master's credits would come from teaching. So basically doing your job. Heck yeah. And then the other half, they take, more traditional coursework. We have an employee at Bristol Bay Foundation, Miles King. It's from Naknek, who is a first grade teacher here in Anchorage, but he's providing the coaching support to the teachers who are already in that program. And I think there's 8 currently signed up, but we're recruiting for this program for UAA because we've seen really good outcomes for it. So what we found is that the teachers who are participating year on year, sometimes we're having 100% retention.
That's so important.
Of those teachers,
Yeah.
where in other circumstances, 30% of teachers might leave in a single year, which is not what we want to see, right? Mm-hmm. Because we want to see strong, healthy schools, and part of that is retaining teachers and keeping them in place, which leads us to the kind of other part of that big DOE grant, which is our partnership with the Bristol Bay Regional Career Technical Education Program, and Zach Stenson, who's over there. And they are focused around how we can really build up teachers who are from our communities, because that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is an amazing part of this grant. So he's working through the CTE program to provide education pathways for high school age students, and we have a bunch of students signed up, almost 30 students who are currently in this pathway, which makes us so happy.
Yeah.
And they are participating in a program called Educators Rising to become familiar with what it means and how to become a teacher. And then they hired Steve Noonkesser, who was a former superintendent from our region. He's really working with the state right now on how to build a pathway for our awesome para-educators who have sometimes been in our school district and schools
20 years.
20, 30, 50 years, of experience in our schools. And they are great classroom teachers. We heard from Togiak, where they had some paraprofessionals, shout out to them right now, who are got their emergency certifications to be teachers in the classrooms. They're seeing amazing outcomes, because they know the kids, right? And they've already, they're already super familiar with how to be in a classroom, and handle all the things that, go along with, classroom teaching. So we're excited for that. That one is coming into development, but it's kind of the last big aspect of that grant. So we're halfway through that initial investment, and we hope to reapply so we can continue this programming. But for us, it's really core around where we see the Bristol Bay Foundation going and being active, which is any space in our region or that serves our region in which education and culture really overlap, in those two systems. And we see this supporting teachers as critical to that, because we know teachers are how we have healthy schools, and therefore healthy kids.
You guys are so creative and innovative with your programming.
Creative natives.
I love it. Are there any other collaborations or partnerships you want to touch on?
We are in partnership with ANCEP at the University of Alaska Anchorage.
What's ANCEP?
The Alaska Native Science and Engineering Program.
And we're in our 6th year of this partnership with the Bristol Bay Middle School Academy. The Middle School Academy is an experience designed to promote science, technology, engineering, and math, so all the STEM opportunities and education and careers to middle school students. And so they're able to live on campus, build a computer from scratch.
Oh,
and
yeah. I love that part of the program.
I want to say they also test out the buildings for earthquakes. So they build these structures to see if they'll withstand an earthquake. And maybe I'll just share a story just to put more love around this ANCEP opportunity. The first ANCEP Middle School Academy that we had a student go through, and he's gone through the pipeline. We're funding him academically now through college, and he's now a sophomore in college, so it's great to see that. And I'll name him Christian Nudlash. He's from Dillingham, so he was attending Dillingham Middle School when he applied. It's kind of not a rigorous application process, but there are components in it that you have to really make yourself look outstanding.
It's really competitive.
It is. It is. And so he's gone through this pipeline. Christian did a semester abroad in Ireland, and he's now returned, and he's continuing to pursue his dreams of becoming an engineer. So
that's just what we want to see.
Yeah, and that's one example, and there's many stories like this, but he just kind of stands out to me as just one of our amazing students, and we have many.
Yeah, I love that story about Christian.
The Middle School Academy, is that for kids that are currently in 6th, 7th, or 8th, or in the coming school year?
They are currently in 6th, 7th, or 8th grade.
Cool.
And then, just a little bit, I guess, about the ANCEP partnership is once a kid goes to middle school academy, then they become eligible for all of the pipeline activity at ANCEP. So they can go kind of year on year. So middle school academy is the front door into the ANCEP pipeline. And then once you're in, you're kind of in. And so then those students can go to their career exploration weeks during the summer for also middle school, but it's a little bit more focused. So if you wanted to know about the fisheries, I think they have a fisheries and biology track, or just different tracks become available. And then the next stop after that is the Acceleration Academy, which every summer students can come in, live on campus as high school age students, and get college credit for classes they attend during Acceleration Academy. And then there's Summer Bridge and internships, and they just go straight into the university. So now there's students during their annual banquet at ANCEP who are graduating from high school who are also sophomores in college. Wow. They're just walking in with half their college credits already done. So I think it's a really amazing opportunity.
Yeah. Do you know if the ANCEP program has camps for shareholders and descendants that are maybe outside of the region?
Oh yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Yes, absolutely. They can apply, for ANCEP on the ANCEP website. And then if your student is from Bristol Bay and maybe they're going to school here in Anchorage, but they want to attend those weeks, they can get in touch with the ANCEP staff, also on the website. What we found is that sometimes their school calendar doesn't work well with this particular opportunity, but if there's interest, there's a way.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
That's what I'll say.
Well, thank you so much, you guys, for talking about scholarships and culture and all your partnerships and collaborations that you do. We talked about some success stories, but are there any more that come to mind that you'd like to share?
We have named scholarships that we provide as part of our higher education component. And each year, one student is awarded this honor. And so I'll share that we have 3. They are the Frank Hill named scholarship, H. Noble Dick, and very new this last year, the Marie Paul Bibiak Legacy Scholarship. Maybe I'll just speak very briefly about who these amazing people were. Mm-hmm. The late H. Noble Dick served as BBNC president from 1980 to 1987, so a little while back ago. Mm-hmm. He served as a first controller in 1973 and did some amazing work for the corporation. And then this year's selected student for the H. Noble Award was Destiny Reimers. And Destiny is a student attending the University of Alaska Fairbanks and is studying for her bachelor's in rural development. Cool. Not only is she doing that, but she's also a student athlete playing for the women's basketball team. So shout out to Destiny, who also maintains a 4.0.
Wow.
So proud.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
And she's also a shareholder-owned business, which you can find on our directory. But how does she have the time?
How does she have the time? The H. Noble Dick Scholarship we award specifically to students who are pursuing
business-related
degree.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, we have the criteria. It's up on our website if you want to see it. The next named scholarship is from the late Frank Hill. Frank Hill was president of the back then BBNC Education Foundation's board of directors from 1995 to 2007. He was also a Lake and Peninsula School District teacher and later served as superintendent and co-director of AFN, Alaska Rural Systematic Initiatives Program. So he just did some amazing things back in our region. And this year's recipient of the Frank Hill Award is Desiree Rosario, who's attending school at Central Washington University studying for her bachelor's in elementary education. So she also maintains a 4.0. Congratulations to her this year. Last, the Marie Paul Bibiak Legacy Award Scholarship was created to honor our wonderful Marie, her exceptional attributes and contributions. She served on the Bristol Bay Foundation Board of Directors for over 23 years as a director and many years as our president and our leader. Marie served also on the Bristol Bay Native Corporation Board for many years. Marie had a strong commitment to education, deep respect for our cultural heritage, and she had the willingness to serve our region with humility and kindness. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's probably what we all miss most about her, is just how wonderful and beautiful she was. This year's recipient of the Marie Paul Bibiak Award was Montana Murphy, and we just celebrate Montana. She's a Chogue Limited shareholder and BBNC Corp shareholder. And she's a current student at Dartmouth College and maintains a beautiful GPA. So congratulations to Montana.
Yes, and she's already been on the podcast.
She has.
Yeah.
Congratulations to all the recipients.
Congratulations to all the recipients. Every student who applies for a scholarship is considered for those named awards. Mm-hmm. And so as folks are preparing their applications, our scholarship committee takes a look at each of them and then recommends them for these awards. So that's the process.
Okay.
And then they get the named award. They also get a little bit of a stipend, extra scholarship on top of
Nice.
that. That's something new that our board instituted, I think, last year. So shout out to those students, and also know that they, if you're selected, you'll get a little extra scholarship.
So how can shareholders and descendants contact you to get help with any of the services that you guys have talked about today?
Well, I think there's a few ways to keep track of us. We have a very active Facebook page, so we really encourage people to follow us on Facebook, number one, as well as Instagram. We're talking about that, how we can even up our ante on Instagram. And then, of course, you just call the office, and you can call the main line at BBNC, and they connect us. For folks who maybe have never been to our office before, we're co-located, right, with BBNC. So we're right here on the first floor with other shareholder kind of facing departments, including shareholder corporate relations,
Shareholder development.
Shareholder development, thank you. And so you could also just stop by. You could stop by the BBNC building and, say hi to us. But I think those are the main things. Give us a call, send us an email, find us out on social media.
Yep.
Angela actually gives out her cell phone to all the students.
Oh,
I do.
you're the best.
Auntie Anne.
I don't even apologize for that because, this day and age, you email somebody and it takes a week sometimes to get back to you, especially if you're a busy student. But if your auntie texts you and says, hey, we need this or that, your response rate is always a good turnaround time. So thank you to our students for being responsive via text.
Also, should we mention Joni, who may now be texting students?
Yeah.
Auntie Joni.
Auntie Joni is in the house.
We have an amazing new staff member that was hired, I want to say back in May of this year, Joni Fullwood, and she recently got married. So she used to be Joni Wasley, for those of you who might know her, but she's our new program associate, and she works directly with students. You've probably, if you're a student, you've probably heard from her, especially if you're a new student, she called you. And especially if you were a freshman, you got a couple of phone calls from her to make sure that you are on track with getting your dorms set up, getting your flights situated, and all the things that an auntie would do to help support you.
Yeah, and I think, before we go, I do want to mention that there's a team, at the foundation, and we were so lucky to have amazing staff like Angela and Joni. In addition, Sienna Huffman is our office administrator and board liaison who keeps the ship running at the foundation.
She's the mom.
She's the mom. She is also the person who's most likely to answer the phone when you call. So she's often our first line. And then we just hired the super talented Emily Brockman to run our Bristol Bay Teaching and Learning.
Woo, woo. Shout out to Emily.
Shout out to Emily. So an amazing team. And then, of course, maybe this is our note to end on, Aleesha Ambrosio, who is, we call Uli in the office because now we have two Aleeshas.
Yeah.
So Uli, and she is our communications and development manager. And we say development because Bristol Bay Foundation continues to fundraise. And that is part of how we achieve our mission. This has been part of us since almost the very, very beginning, is that we have a super active fundraising component, which includes...
Hey, if you were around this fall, you probably participated in our fall raffle fundraiser.
Thanks so much for buying a raffle ticket.
Yeah, and we recognize that a lot of people can't contribute $500 a year, but they can buy a raffle ticket for up to $100, and they're okay if they don't win because it's still going to a good cause. All funds directly raised from any kind of raffle that we do go directly to support our students, and so that's one of the beautiful things about when we do fundraisers with gaming like that. We also have a opportunity to do heads and tails at the Christmas party. We had over 600 people show up for
It's our favorite party of the year.
Yeah.
Also this year, because there was 2 awesome MCs, as you like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Carmel and I got to host that Christmas party and just had an absolute blast. We were your croissant teas, if you recall.
Oh my gosh.
And so
I didn't recall, and now I do.
At that Christmas party, we were able to fundraise and make nearly $20,000 to support the foundation. So if you bought beads to do the heads and tails game, or if you bought a $100 ticket for an opportunity to win 2 round trip tickets anywhere Alaska Airlines flies. Thank you, Alaska Airlines. Shout out to them, Tim Thompson. Thank you. That was an amazing evening. I don't think we've ever raised that much money in an evening, and we couldn't have done it without our folks at that party. So thank you so much.
And just to put that in context, those 2 activities fully funds our emergency aid program.
Yes.
Right? So it's not just, this is on top. No, these dollars that we're raising are just going straight back into scholarships and programs. So really, you are making a huge difference with that raffle ticket purchase or buying beans or however it is that you choose to contribute to the foundation.
I was going to just say, if someone's feeling inspired to make a donation today after hearing the podcast, where do they go?
You can go straight to our website, and there's right on the top hand, it's bristolbayfoundation.org, and on the top right hand, you can make a donation. You can also sign up for recurring donations if you wanted to make a monthly donation to the foundation. You can do that on our website. And I also want to shout out to many BBNC employees as well as corporate subsidiary employees who give a portion of their paychecks to support the foundation, which I think just always touches my heart.
Yeah.
Every month that folks that we work with see this mission is so important that they're willing to give some of their hard-earned dollars to support it. So thank you, thank you to those folks. But yes, we really do rely on those individual donors to support the mission, and also then we use that as an example when we're going after some of this grant funding, right, that we have to demonstrate that we have buy-in from our communities that we're serving. So I think this is, it really all kind of folds up to this larger picture.
I'll also mention that right now is PFD application, and you can actually pick, click, give to Bristol Bay Foundation. You can just go and search in the search bar, pick, click, give.
So many ways to give.
Maybe I'll plug in one more last opportunity here that we're going to be pushing forward. I know that the BBNC Education Foundation back then did some of this. They had an alumni giving opportunity. We are now relaunching that this year, so look out for that. So if you were ever supported by the foundation via scholarships, short-term vocational ed scholarships back in the day, and CFVE, be on the lookout, because now you have an opportunity to give back, which, we all should be giving back in some way, whether it's your time, money, if you have it. And it's, if you want a cause to give to, leave us open as an option.
Yeah, because we see in our communities so many stellar professionals who are a part of our alumni network. And I think we just want to recognize you too, right? That oh man, you have taken that investment from 5, 10, 20 years ago and really leveraged that into a flourishing career. We want to celebrate you. We want to invite you to feel part of this mission and give back in whatever way to this next generation of students. So yes, alumni. Open that email.
Sounds good.
Cool. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for joining us. You guys are growing so much at the Bristol Bay Foundation. Your staff is growing. You just rebranded. All the culture stuff you guys are doing, it's super cool to hear. So we can't wait to see what you guys do next.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, anytime. We'll have
Thank
to
you.
do it again.
We are the legacy of our elders, each of us unique, with gifts to give and histories to make. Our resilience will carry our voices forward. to build the future our elders imagined. We are the next generation of Bristol Bay Native Corporation shareholders, and we share so much more than a corporation.